to live stream the meeting. Setting up your meeting and redirecting. Beautiful. Hello, how are you guys? My name is Tammy Workman-Lopez, and my company is Sparks Hope. And 3, 2, 1, we are getting started. All right, so I don't know if you are aware or if this is your first time, but I have actually been running different recordings and different supports called Grace in Grief. I also run a program called Grace in Grief, and so I give the free supports and free tips and free tools because I just want to make sure everyone has some of the basics. And then I have the program for diving in even deeper. And so today is the second to last week that I'll be on this topic. And it's called Grace in Grief. And why, right? What does that mean? Well, we judge grief a lot, right? We have this thing that it's not good. And so the idea is giving yourself grace. And to tell you the truth, I practice this because it's something I've been dealing with my whole life. I've dealt with um, being a kid with my parents who they were not the best parents. A lot of the time, there was a lot of abuse involved, and I really felt like I lost my mom very early on to her anger, her hostility, her judgment, and just a lot of rejection, loads and loads and loads of rejection over and over and over again daily. Um, and then as life went on and my grandmother moved away, that was a huge rejection. And then my dad began to abuse me as a little younger one, like 11 in my teens. And so this experience of continuing to lose, and then my what was it? Well, there's a whole lot in between there. But then we ended up in foster care and lost all of that as well. But then in foster care, I learned a lot. I learned how to connect. I learned how to be supported. I learned how to ask for help. I learned how to give myself space to begin to heal and begin to grieve, because there is no grieving much if you're in survival mode. You're just constantly re-experiencing the next loss. And so that's why I do this, because I did not know how to give myself grace. I judged myself. I criticized myself. I knew I should be fixed. I knew I was broken, the whole deal. And so my goal is to help each and every person that wants to take the time to grow and to help themselves that, and even if you don't want to, but you're like, hey, I'll try it. Go, fine, fine. Just taste the waters, right? Taste the waters and let yourself feel filled with love and begin to understand how to give yourself grace in anything. And this topic right now is in grief. And the biggest thing that I want to emphasize in that is noticing where you're choosing suffering. Now, you might say, choosing suffering, well, I'm just having it. Well, I'll give you an example. Currently, I am dealing with divorce, and I could either choose to think about all I've lost and choose to think about whose fault it is and choose to think about all the things that hurt my heart and my soul. Or I can choose to think about we did so much good. I could choose to think about how much it made me grow. I can choose to think about how this was actually a better choice as the even though my heart is like not in agreement. My heart's not always logical. I know, right? And so it doesn't mean that over here it's not going to hurt. And it doesn't mean that over here is not going to be grief, because boy, let me just tell you. And giving ourselves permission to be in that grief and to talk it out and to think it out and to work through it. And sometimes talking and thinking about the same gosh darn thing. And sometimes questioning yourself and wondering and all that stuff. But finding the right people that you can talk to, right? I have a therapist, I have a coach, I have loads of other coaches and loads of other friends, and I've made sure that they're the kind of people who know how to deal with this stuff versus in the past I did not. And instead I would work with people on this side of things who they would they would tell, oh yeah, it's good that you got away from that person. Oh, they're this and they're that. And that's not what I've never wanted to be about that. So be mindful where it is that you're turning for support because that can also cause suffering. And so those are just a couple of really big points that I wanted to share so that way you can help yourself to bring in that grace. Help yourself to breathe and have relief versus stress and pain and anxiety and all of this. And not to say there's not going to be some of it here. I'm not saying that at all because it's still all here. It's just lighter, it's more supported. And when you're in the grief here, it doesn't feel good, right? Grief isn't supposed to feel good. Grief is supposed to let us know that there's been a loss and that we need to let ourselves work through that loss and see the value, why we feel so much loss. Like the value is beautiful. And even if there was loss because there was a lot of pain or a lot of um, hurtfulness on other people, I've worked with a lot of people who have had abusive relationships, um, right? And sometimes we can be abusive to each other and not even know, right? And so there's times when that stuff's going to be worked out and brought up, but we could bring it out over here in such a way that we're reliving it, almost like you're eating it down and just making yourself sick and re-experiencing it again. I mean, it literally feels like you're making yourself sick. I could feel it as I'm thinking of imagining it. Or bleh, leave that over there. And here, you're working it out. You're thinking about what are your next steps. You're thinking about the things that you're going to do with your life and how you're taking care of yourself today and tomorrow and this weekend. What beautiful things are you going to bring into your life, even if it's just to go outside and sit on your step and practice boxed breathing, practice what I like to teach is called hypno-prayer, meaning you're taking meditation, like deep levels of meditation, and focusing on change and bringing in God and bringing in prayer and bringing all that in. I've never met anybody who really does it like that. And I think it should be something we all know how to do because we certainly meditate on the negative stuff. So let's meditate on the stuff that we want to. And you could call it meditation or you could call it prayer. It's the same with prayer. We're meditating on the things that we want to pray on. We're meditating on God. We're taking in that love that Jehovah has for us. So that's just an example of something I really love to help teach and practice, not just tell you about. So those are just some different tools that I just want to impart with you. Um, Grief can be very heavy, sometimes unbearable. And depending on where you are on the spectrum of grief or grief with suffering, this can get you to a place where you lose yourself and you could be there for years, years and years and years and years. But wherever it is you are, you get to help yourself notice it's a choice. And if you choose to be here, it doesn't make you bad or wrong. It just means you're going to suffer a lot. And I will tell you, I've had clients that they couldn't come out of here. They would have rather suffered because they think they did something wrong and they wanted to feel that punishment. I should have done this and that wouldn't have happened. I should have done that and that wouldn't have happened. Even though, even if they did that thing, it probably still would have happened. They don't know. They're meditating on making themselves suffer. They're meditating on the worst case scenario. They're meditating on basically punishing themselves, imprisoning themselves. And so, and that's okay if that's where they choose, but we could still love them in that place. And you can still love yourself in that place. You could still bring all the beautiful things to yourself in that place. You could still bring your learning and your prayers and wherever it is you are, not making yourself wrong until you're able to slowly move out of there. Because if you keep punishing yourself for punishing yourself, you're never going to get out of it. So forgiving yourself each and every day, even if you feel like you have to punish yourself for maybe because somebody died and you feel like you could have done something different. Or maybe there's been a divorce and you feel like you should have done something different. Or maybe because of something, now there's these other things that you didn't expect. And now you're just mad and upset and punishing yourself. And so just knowing that that's here, but there is another place over here. You can still be upset with yourself over here. You can let yourself realize I can still be upset with myself and still realize that was not the best decision I wanted to make in my life. And I'm going to let myself live. And I'm going to let myself forgive. And I'm going to let myself heal. And in the process of healing and learning and developing, maybe I can create something else. Maybe I can create a loving relationship where I'm always talking to my loved one, whether they're deceased or somewhere else, and I just can't reach them. Either way, you can't reach them. And so, what if, right? Have you ever had somebody call or you call them and be like, I was just thinking about you? What if it might not be true that when we think of someone, they can feel us? And since we're energy, our experience doesn't die, it doesn't disappear. Even if you have the belief that we are asleep and waiting to be woken up after we die, and our experience is they call it in the memory tombs of Jehovah, right? Of Jesus just saying, I've given my life for them and they're going to be there waiting. Or if you believe that we're going to heaven afterwards and our loved ones are there, or whatever, right? Knowing that they are still existing somewhere, even if it's going to go through God first to reach them, you are now thinking of them. You are now connected to them. And even if they're still alive and you never get to see them again, it's as though they're dead. You could either be in, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've missed, and I've been there. I can't believe I've missed all these years. I can't believe I didn't get to watch them grow. They're suffering, right? Or I'm so glad they've grown up. I'm so glad that they, are healthy. I'm so glad that they're having a good life, and being able to say, and I miss them, and I send them love, and I send them prayers, and I send them the best. So just to share that with you on how we can actually build that and make it even stronger. And even if we're here, we can shift just even a little. Or even if we're here, we could bring the shift to us and bring the tools and bring the support and bring the love and find the people that can keep seeing us here and still loving us anyway. That's okay. It's okay. So the last thing I want to impart with you, something that I learned, I didn't learn it until, I'm trying to think, it was until I started really learning about how we program our own minds. And that was in my 40s. And I'm 48 now. Long time to not have this understood, but if you don't know, you don't know. People are like, common sense. Well, if you're not brought up with it, if you're not taught it, it's never in your zone. What the hell is common sense? Just cut that judgment out. That's all it is. It's judgment. Now, it might be shocked, like, ooh, how did you not know that? Well, check in. What have you just learned today? There's stuff we learn and we're like, oh, should have known that. Well, how? So when I was a child, I was terrified every single day that I woke up. The moment I started to realize I was waking up, I was terrified of what was going to happen today. Was my mom going to yell at me? Was she going to be mean? Could maybe she stay asleep until I left for school? That was always the hope. Then school was done. I had fun. I had friends. I was like a normal person, sort of. And then on my way home, I would start to shake and my legs would wobble. And I didn't realize it, but I wasn't breathing. I want to plant that one too. Remember to breathe. If you're starting to feel anxious or upset or nervous, breathe. Practice that. Even now, right? As I'm talking to you, I could feel my chest getting a little tighter, and I realize I'm not breathing deeply enough as I stop. And, that's just a little breath. Even when you're speaking, take in deeper breaths. We can forget. That's okay. Remind yourself again. Okay. So on my way home, what's going to happen? What did I do at school that I have forgotten that I might get in trouble for? Did I talk in my sleep that she heard me and I might get in trouble for that? Did I forget something that I'll get in trouble for? Is she be in a bad mood and whatever? Without realizing it, because I didn't know any of this stuff back then, when I was meditating on that stuff, and the reason why I was shaking is because my subconscious mind was not aware that what I was imagining happening to me was not really happening. Your subconscious mind, our subconscious mind is a very simple tool. It houses all of our information, even what's incorrect. And so when I'm replaying that information, my subconscious mind believes that my mother was doing those things that moment. And it believed that it was true, that it was going to keep happening. And it believed, and so on and so on. And so I was actually re-traumatizing myself. My nervous system was on edge. I can actually feel it as I'm talking to you about it. And what does it feel like? It feels like tightness in my chest. It feels like everything's kind of edging up. It feels like my nerves are tingling. I can feel pressure in the back of my head. I could feel tightness in my jaw. Notice what you're feeling in your body. It'll talk to you. So I'm not even there. I'm 30 years later, 40 years later from then. Actually, it would be 43 years later from then, or whatever, somewhere around there. I'm doing math for, yeah, 5. And so if you can allow yourself to take a look at what are you imagining to happen and realize you are making your body feel and believe it's really happening. And instead, ask yourself in this moment, what is really happening? At this moment, I'm sitting at my desk. I'm relaxed. I'm calm. And I say that because you might go, yeah, but you are going to go home and you are going to deal with this person and they might be, well, they might. But you know how many times I went home and she slept a good part of the day? She was a major depressed and had high anxiety and wouldn't sleep during the night sometimes and would sleep during the day or just lay in bed and or just sit in her rocking chair and just be stressed and all these things. All the time I was dreading coming home. All the time I was home, I was dreading. My sleep, I was dreading. And my waking up, I was dreading. I punished myself with those things more than my mother punished me. And I was punished quite a bit. But for me, I did that to me 24 effing 7. I did that to me. Now, yes, there were breaks when it was really happening, but the rest, I did that. And so I just want to share that with you because that causes so much grief and suffering. And if I'm imagining someone's going to treat me that way, how do you think I might behave with them? And if you're dealing with somebody who's not especially healthy, and you're always cowering away or fearful or not saying what you want to say, it instigates that behavior from them. And then let's say it's somebody who is healthy, but we're reactive and defensive and being in a negative tone or seeing and hearing and feeling things that really aren't that way. You'll hear it and see it and feel it like you're being attacked when everybody else is just, no, I heard talking, I didn't hear a tone. But we'll interpret because that's the filter we're looking through. And so I hope those are some really helpful tools. My heart goes out to you, whatever it is that you're dealing with, and just know that you are loved, whether you like it or not, by the way. And know that you're not alone. And get the support, get the tools, get everything that you need so you can allow your mental health to be healthy. That you could allow your somatic system, your body, your emotions to finally calm down and be in this space of not feeling like the next shoe is going to drop and you've got to walk on eggshells. Walking on eggshells is very painful. Did you ever think about that? They're sharp little pieces, almost like glass. They could stab into your foot if they don't break. You don't know. Is it when you step on it, is it going to break or is it going to stab you? Like that's this constant. And there may not even ever be any shells on the floor. So give yourself permission to think about what I just shared with you and let me know what your thoughts are. Your questions guide my next talks because they're for you. And I share what I'm learning. I'm transparent as I'm growing. That's how I've always been. And that's how I plan to always be. And so as you share your questions or your feedback or your, hey, I hated it, or hey, I really loved it, don't just say I hated it or loved it. Tell me why. Share with me what the questions are. Share with me what the doubt is or the cynicism or whatever it is so we can dig into it and really use it to be supportive for you. So thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for being that support for yourself, for doing the work. There's so many who won't, mostly because they're scared. On top of that they'll say, "Oh, I don't want to. I'm perfectly fine." But underneath that, there's anxiety, there's fear, there's this I don't know, and I don't know makes me not want to go there. Feeling emotions feel so overwhelming. I feel like I'm gonna just break. So I'm really glad that you're here. Please share this with someone that you know it could help. And even if you think it's someone who may not know how to use it, just let them know, hey, you don't have to do anything with this. I felt like it really moved me and I want to share it with the people that I love. So it's not about giving something to someone to fix them, because that's painful. It's just sharing, right? This helped me. I'd love for it to help you. All right, bring it in. Mm, big squishy hugs. You take care of you. And again, like I mentioned, know that you're loved, whether you like it or not. And if you're on one of my social media platforms and you'd like to um, join, be a part of, continue to come back, continue to reach out to me. You can also text me. You see my number here on the screen. My handle is Coach Tammy Star. Don't feel like, oh, I don't want to, or they've got no time, I'll make the time, right? So, and then I'll let you know what I'm up to. It's always different. I had groups before Facebook shut everything down, and now I don't have those kinds of groups. Now I'm having more groups on Zoom versus just the group on Facebook. So get in touch, find out what's going on. Then I can know what resources you need and how to connect you. And you take care of you. All right, one more time. Big squishy hugs for health. You've got this, even if it doesn't feel like you do. Feelings are just a gauge. They're not always correct. Sometimes they're trying to tell us something that we're not able to hear or interpret. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you next week, this same channel on it's going to be on Friday. Sometimes it's 12, sometimes it's 1. If you don't catch me live, just watch the replay. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.